1 and 2. And please quickly state who you are. Thank you.
Yes, good morning, still morning. Okay, yeah, I'm doing this for an international media. My question is more about Silk Road, China, reviving the Silk Roads. Actually, this sort of antagonism between the big powers right now, China and the United States, has its roots in the Obama's pivot policy 2011, if you remember. So, the U.S. policy right now is we can describe as choking China in the South China Sea. So we can say that China is expanding by building its network in the old Silk Roads. So I want to understand, why is this necessarily being framed as detrimental to U.S. interest? I mean, why is it being framed as a zero-sum game? Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
We had one more question over there. Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Ristian. I come from University of Indonesia. My question relates to shared perception or lack thereof among ASEAN countries on the South China Sea. So we understand that ASEAN is not a military alliance. It was set up first as a socio-economic and socio-cultural cooperation organization in the region. But increasingly, in recent years, we have seen more and more military cooperation activities. I think one of the primary achievement of ASEAN is the establishment of ASEAN Defense Ministers Meeting Plus, ADMM Plus. Again, we are not also alien to the concept of regional approach to many issues in the region, like regional resilience was our main concept at the day. But the question is, when we talk about deterrence, it usually falls under national jurisdiction, national approaches. What are the prospects, do you think, for ASEAN to have a concept of regional deterrence? And we do deterrence as a regional organization. Thank you.
So if I understood the first question correctly, it's about the Silk Road revival and why this is framed as a zero-sum game by the Americans, if I understood correctly?
Well, I don't have a straightforward answer, but there's no end yet, so we cannot say that it's a zero-sum game. You know, there are going to be ultimately losers and winners, but if we actually review history, there are actually many forms of deterrent that actually work successfully. In the case of Taiwan, because this is not ever the first attempt for the PRC to assert its right over Taiwan. If you review the history, there were cases and incidents as early as the late 1940s, 60s, and 70s. And to a certain degree, deterrent support and also the military resources of Taiwan itself was working. But in the case of the Philippines, I think it is it behooves upon the Filipino people, you know, to determine and pivot the narrative towards what is best for us. And it's not necessarily, I'm a perennial optimist, and I wouldn't say that it's a zero-sum game. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Hammerli, the question on regional deterrence approach to you.
Right. Thank you, Ristian, for your question. I think that's kind of why I started off by saying that there needs to be a shift in ASEAN mindset, right? ASEAN, like you just mentioned, there are things that we're good at doing, and there's things that we're not good at doing, right? Once you politicize and securitize some of this maritime issue, it will not get the consensus at ASEAN level. Right? So that's why I said that we need to find a way to shift from hard deterrence to soft deterrence, right? Framing a lot of these maritime issues as shared issue of ASEAN. Right? For example, if there's something going on in South China Sea, this is one of the busiest sea lane and logistic route, right? So the Philippines or whoever that want to push on the agenda of South China Sea needs to be able to show the rest of, maritime ASEAN, right? And versus mainland ASEAN, that this is also equally the mainland ASEAN issue as well. Not only that, we also had at the workshop, we also talk about the undersea, submarine cables, right? That could potentially be damaged, and a lot of that network is in the South China Sea. Right. So this can also be some of the entry point, not to mention the biodiversity and marine environmental protection. That could be some of the soft entry points that mainland Southeast Asian country probably see more palatable than you go up and say, hey, we need to securitize South China Sea issue. Can you send patrol to us? And I'm not speaking for my government, obviously, but when I talk to people from the government, what do you think about South China Sea issue? I get the answer that that's the Philippines problem. Right? That's the Philippines and the U.S. problem. If the Philippines can get cozy up with the U.S., we're all good. Everything is fine. Right? But it should not be like that. But I think when we look at ASEAN and ASEAN regional strategic deterrence, we should not be thinking of it in a form of hard deterrence. We also don't have enough armed capability to do that. Right? And then so it's better to probably start thinking about how ASEAN can deploy a more softer but still yet very strategic and very crucial ways to deter other threats in South China Sea. Thank you.
Thank you very much for reminding us about the potentials of cooperation within ASEAN and how they differ from traditional to non-traditional threats, and where pockets of cooperation can be identified. Are there more questions in the room? 1, 2, 3.